Hello, Charles County. Welcome back to another episode of Ready, Set, Prepare, Emergency Preparedness here in Charles County. This series is designed to give you an idea of what we do in Charles County to help prepare for emergencies, to make sure county government and the other agencies we work with are ready, but also so that you as residents have some tips and tools you can use to make sure you're prepared as well. When our residents and government work together, it really is best for everyone involved. Joining us here today, as always, my amazing co-host, Wade Haubert. Nice to have you, Wade.
Great to be here again.
And Wade, you are our emergency manager with Department of Emergency Services.
Yes, I am.
And joining us here, especially today, special treat, Nancy Bowling, our Benefits Compliance Administrator in the Human Resources Department.
Thank you for having me.
Nancy, I really appreciate it because you're kind of filling in. This is not your typical role.
Not my typical, but I'm going to make the best of it.
And not your typical as in you usually get to work mostly with our employees.
Correct.
But also not your
One-on-one.
typical that you told me that being in front of the camera and on podcast was not your dream come true.
Not something I'm used to, for sure.
Okay. Well, we're going to make it really fun and we'll keep it
Thanks.
really comfortable so that
I trust you.
You'll do it again, right?
For sure.
Of
We'd love
course,
to.
maybe.
Love to.
So Wade, today we're going to be talking about financial preparedness, which is kind of an interesting topic and how it ties into emergency preparedness for the county. Talk to us about why financial preparedness, that kind of thing, fits under the scope of the work you do.
Right. Well, first off, I'm not a financial planner or an accountant, so
We
I'm
should
not
get all the
providing that type of
disclaimers out of the way,
advice.
right?
But the reason this is important, financial preparedness deals with having all that documentation ready so that should you face any sort of emergency or disaster, it's going to help you in the recovery process. Nobody likes doing paperwork. Most people don't like finances. And trying to get all that information together, if you lost your house, if your family got displaced, would just add an extra layer of stress to the trauma that you're already experiencing. So if you're able to actually take a few steps, just annually review certain documents, have information together, it'll give you peace of mind. And I liken it very much to estate planning in many aspects. Just having that peace of mind and knowing that your loved ones need to have certain things done or might want certain things done is very helpful. And so it falls under the scope of emergency management where, if you can help yourself by getting your documents together and having information ready in some of these worst case disaster type scenarios where you might need assistance or things like that, it's going to help the various agencies involved in the response efforts help you get back on your feet because you're going to have the documentation you'll need. You'll have you may not have your actual driver's license, but you might have a copy of it. You might not have the actual birth certificate, but you might have a copy. And so all of those things will help speed along the process to recovery.
And when we were planning this, something that really stuck with me that I hadn't thought about this before, but when we were talking about what we were going to talk about today, one of the things that came up was this could be an emergency as in I've lost my house. So it's just me and my family that needs to have these documents. But also this could be that my entire community, my neighborhood, houses around me, or all of Charles County, or all of the state of Maryland. And Wade, I remember you saying, and it stuck with me, that idea that the more people as individuals and as households are prepared, the less taxing it is on the resources. So that if, it's one thing if it's only me having to go and talk to Red Cross or only me having to find the documents needed for insurance. But imagine if we have 170,000+ people in Charles County. So the more prepared each of our households can be, it sounds like it's better for everybody involved. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, exactly. Because if, imagine your example, individual house fire, tragic as it is for that family, anybody who responds is going to be able to help focus their efforts just on that family. So think about, people might set up a GoFundMe page and things like that. But now if it was an entire community, what's going to happen is from an emergency management standpoint, it could rise to the level where we have a family assistance center set up and reunification centers. And imagine just a big gymnasium or facility with desks and people where you check in and you have to fill out this form, do this, do that. And as you're going along that process, just imagine if everyone had all their documentation in order as compared to people breaking down crying, oh my goodness, I didn't have that, I'm missing it. And just the exponential increase in time that will need to be spent to help get everyone back on their feet.
No, when you'd said it like that, it just really helped my brain frame around this is why this information is so important to share with our community. So Nancy, your job in Charles County government is to help our employees access their benefits, yes?
Absolutely. Every day.
And I'm going to give the disclaimer that I reached out to you and said, Nancy, we need somebody to talk about financial preparedness. Maybe one of the organizations that supports us, maybe one of our benefits providers, or maybe Nancy Bowling. And you said, I'll do it. So my disclaimer is I put you on the spot.
It's okay.
Your disclaimer is this is not your job to tell people what to do. This is just an area of expertise you tend to have. Yes?
Absolutely. My history is I worked with hospice for 16 years, and many times we helped families at that point when they came into hospice to learn about all the things that they needed to gather up for their loved one who was, not going to be with us much longer. So I have a history of kind of knowing. Plus, I'm just kind of that type A person anyway, so I kind of have all these documents in a row myself. So I can speak from that aspect as well, certainly.
Well, I appreciate you stepping outside of your typical role to help our residents in Charles
Happy
County.
to.
And then do you want to just give that quick, Charles County government is hiring, and if you're looking for a job, do you want to do that quick pitch real quick?
Go for it.
Okay, so Charles County government's hiring. Come work. Nancy will get you your benefits. We have
Absolutely.
great jobs, great benefits. Yeah.
We do.
All right, so Nancy, when you talk about a financial emergency plan, what does that mean?
Well, there's two things that I like to think about, short range and long range.
Okay.
Certainly, there's the actual financial part. Having 4 to 6 months worth of expense money available, set aside, be it in a savings account or something that you can readily get to.
Okay.
But to know that should it be something more than just a minor thing, that you have that money set aside for you, a job loss or even a major appliance repair, those kinds of things. You have that money set aside for you. And for most people, as I said, that's going to be a long range type of thing because you're not going to be able to put together 6 months in a quickly kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
But there's some things that you can do that'll make it a little bit easier. Certainly tax time is coming up. If you're getting a refund, put that chunk in there to get that account started. If your payroll department offers direct deposit and you can get more than one account, obviously you put the majority of your money into your checking account that you're going to be using. But even if it's just $50 a paycheck or even $10 a paycheck, whatever you can do, it will eventually add up and you'll see you'll have that little safety net there for you.
And
that's so
you're
important.
only touching that. That's not the.
That's right. That's
not
the
fun money.
You're right.
That
Absolutely.
is absolutely
You have to
worst
be,
case scenario.
You have to be very strong in that belief that this is what it is for, and you're just not.
And I appreciate that mindset that it doesn't have to be all at once, and that any little amount you can set aside is still helping. Okay,
for sure.
So long range, what does that look like?
Well, long range, this is where you're going to start to kind of put your documents together, something that's going to be there for you forever. And they say truly that the first step is the hardest, but I think maybe having a family meeting or certainly talking it out with your partner and just sitting there thinking, what are the major documents that we have that we can readily put our hands on? Such things as your driver's license, your marriage certificate, your birth certificates, social security cards, passports, school information if you have children, very, very important. Divorce decrees if you have that, military paperwork. And if you have pets and if they are microchipped, you want to have that information as well. So those are the beginning things that you can look at just to put together. And those should be fairly easy to come by.
So I'm kind of breaking this down in steps in my head. So step one, financially, I'm going to try to put just that, whatever I can afford aside early and know that that's my get this if I needed emergency money.
Right. And that's what you're working on in the background all the time.
And then I love that you said, communication is my favorite brand of strawberry jam. It's something I love. So that first step is just communicating, having that kind of hard talk. And I don't think any of us want to talk to our families about the bad stuff, right?
But you have
this is the stuff we should be. So making copies of everything. And Wade or Nancy, where do I put that stuff? So I have it. Where do I put it?
Well, we have a couple different thoughts there. Is that either what is called a grab and go book, just get a great big thick binder and you just hole punch everything and put it in there. What I prefer and what we do at my home is I have like a 12 by 15 fireproof box. Used to have one that had a key, and we kept forgetting where the key was. So we changed that one. We now have a combination lock that was an important number to my husband and myself, so we can.
I love how you've evolved in that process
exactly
of just
right, exactly.
forget the key.
We learned, I was like, where is that key going? No, so now we have a lockbox that, a combination kind of thing, and it just works. And know where it is all the time. Make it readily available. So should you have to leave your house in a hurry, you grab it and you go. And that's very important.
And the stuff that you mentioned before was kind of the stuff that doesn't change. Like it's always my social security card, my driver's license is good for years, my divorce papers. What's some of the more kind of fluid stuff that you should know where it is?
There's lots of that for sure. I would start with your medical information, particularly if you have any kind of chronic illnesses or whatever, you want a history of surgeries and everything. Your physician's contact informations and all that kind of stuff that you may have. Have a copy of your health insurance cards, your vision card, your dental card, and all that kind of stuff. If someone in your family has Medicare, you'll want to catch that too. List of their medications. That's something that certainly changes on a regular basis. You want to keep up with that. Any allergies or vaccinations and those kinds of things, definitely keep up with it. If you take, if you have any durable medical equipment, I'm thinking like a CPAP machine or something like that, get the vendor name on it. Get the model number, the serial number, those kinds of things. Maybe even take pictures of those things. So that would absolutely have them in your packet there as well. So that's a good place to start. Then I think next you want to think about emergency contacts. If something were to happen to you and you're not able to function or whatever, who is someone that you trust beyond belief to handle your affairs? Is it an outside child that lives outside of your home that could possibly do that? Is it a friend? Is it a neighbor or somebody that you trust or whatever? Get their contact information down. Who they are, what their relationship is, how to contact them, their address, their telephone number, and keep that going. Maybe if you really trust them, you give them a copy of your binder or a copy of the material just to have it off-site.
Right,
which is another nice idea too.
That way, if anything happens to me or
you have another copy of it somewhere.
Who can come in and respond.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's also, you can think about a digital file as well. Some pros and cons to that as well, but it's something to think about as well. And when you're thinking about emergency contacts, you want to think about work as well. You know what? Your supervisor's contact information, certainly your HR department's contact information. Can't help that.
I have Nancy Bolling's number saved in both of my phones. Don't you worry.
And, you want to think about, too, with the work information, in addition to the health insurance, do you have a flexible spending account? Do you have employee-sponsored life or disability insurance, any type of AFLEC type of policies, retirement policies, all that? Have a copy of all that stuff very safely tucked away for you. So hopefully you'll never need it, but you want to know that it's there.
If it's there. And I'm thinking back, and Wade, in a Department of Emergency Services, your team is often responding to people's everyday emergencies. So it's, that 911 call that only affects one person, but it's their worst day.
Right.
And I'm thinking about the amount of relief that I'm sure for that person, knowing like, this is my list of medications. I don't have to think about it. This is my doctor's. And that when that EMS team walks into your house, you're not scrambling of, I think my mom was taking this, or maybe it was this in the morning, but I assume that makes teams just much more comfortable in the work they do. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you look at it from both angles, right? It's the peace of mind that you're giving yourself by having that information. Let's say you call 911 just before you have a medical emergency and they show up, but also your example where family might be around visiting grandma or grandpa and they're not exactly familiar, but if they've put this binder together, they've got this information, it's there and it's going to help in the response efforts, which can take the guilt off of family members. It'll take the stress, and it's going to actually empower them to feel like they helped in one of your worst moments.
It's that wraparound feel of none of us should be handling this on our own.
Right.
So we started talking more about the money stuff, and then we kind of veered into the paperwork and the other stuff, which is also, it's everything's tied to money, right? That if I have to get refills on my medications, that's a copay that I don't want to have to deal with if I have to get my durable medical equipment replaced. So let's veer back kind of into the money piece again.
Okay.
Talk to us about what you want us to know about finances. It's not the fun stuff.
It's not the fun stuff at all. You want to take a deep breath on this section about it and just start to think again. Everybody's situation is unique, but I would start with thinking about your housing payments. Do you have mortgage paper, rental leases? Do you have a second mortgage? Do you have a home equity line of credit? The paperwork all involved with that should be in your binder or be in your box there. After that, think about the other expenses that you have. And for there, I would go to your bank statement because it's going to show every subtraction.
So this is what a normal month looks
exactly
like for
right,
me.
Exactly right. And it also, like I have my SMECO bill is automated. I don't even have to think about it. I may forget that if I'm just looking at my normal bills that I pay off of my register or whatever.
Right.
But I see it on my checks, on my bank statement kind of thing. So I always think about those kinds of things, even child care payments and those kinds of things. You want to get all of those statements there. It's going to help you figure out exactly, too, how much money you need to have because you'll know how much money is going out each month.
Well, and I'm just picturing kind of insult to injury that if I'm having my worst day or my community's worst day where there's been a disaster either personally or community-based, I don't want to worry that I'm going to also get interest on my credit card because I forgot to pay it. Like let's eliminate the things that we can eliminate to make everybody's life as easy as possible at a really challenging time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then after you've thought about expenses, you want to think about your income as well. You know, maybe it's a good idea to have a copy of your last pay stub with you, or if you have Social Security benefits, you certainly want to have that information available. And write down your banking information. Where do you have your checking account? Where do you have your savings account? Do you have certificates of deposit? And in your retirement, where does that come from? So think about all your income sources as well. Vehicle registration, you know, absolutely. It's important to have those kinds of things. And also, we talked a little bit about health insurance before, but there's other types of insurance, too, that you're going to want to have in your binder. Flood insurance, property insurance, final expense insurance, pet insurance, if you have animals type of thing.
Right.
All of those different things are important, and you want to make sure that they're going to be accessible if you need them.
And I always laugh, you know, I love this component of my job because I get to talk to people and learn about the stuff that they're doing in the county, but also because I always learn something. And I have to say, Nancy, I'm sitting here listening to you talk, and while I'm listening, I'm also checking off in my brain like, oh, I have that, but it's not in one place, or I'd have to go to this room to get that, and the car to get this, and this is in here, and this is, and it's funny, I consider myself somebody who's type A, I consider myself somebody who's prepared, but you don't think about it till you have to think about it.
Right.
And then when you have to think about it, you're not in a good mindset to think about it. So all of this probably, I don't know, I'm thinking about what you just described, would take maybe an hour to pull everything together, scan, go through your bank account, like you said, an hour of time on an easy day when nothing's going wrong.
There you go. Saturday morning, just get it knocked out.
Get it done. And talking with your family about it. So very important. And letting them know, you know, what your wishes are and where to find these things. It's imperable. Yes. Yeah. Excellent.
Yep.
So, Wade, Nancy's given us the kind of like things to consider. And I know your every day is preparing for all that could go wrong. Where do the two kind of come together? So what resources, you know, if people listening and viewing have heard these ideas and thought, okay, tell me more, I need more, where do they go? What resources are available?
Well, I'm a big proponent of not reinventing the wheel.
Okay.
If there's a good product that's out there, then let's use that. You know, no sense expending county funds to create our own.
Right.
And FEMA has an emergency financial preparedness kit that you can actually download on their website for free. They do print them. I have an order, always a standing order placed to have hard copies, but it's about 20 pages long that you can print up. It explains everything. You fill it out. You can also download it in a PDF fillable format and enter all the information there and save it where you wish. It's a saved document of yours. It's not like you're putting all your information in and giving it to the federal government or the state.
It's just the toolkit. You're not submitting it. It's just for you to have. Okay,
and it's just going to make your life easier. And then, you know, what I have in my house is went to Staples and spent $10 just to buy one of those portable carrying, you know, file boxes, and that's all you need. And just have it in one spot that you know that if something occurred, I can go right into the room, grab that box, and take it. And it's not heavy. Right. So if I'm carrying something else, carrying the baby, the 7-year-old can go get the blue box.
Yeah.
So,
and that goes back to that family communication piece, right? I really do value the idea that this doesn't have to be one person in charge of everything. And even like you said, Nancy, that community thing of, hey, neighbor Nancy, like if you see the ambulance at my house, you know where my emergency stuff is. Come over and help me. It does bring that community feel that we are so much better when we can support each other, family, household, neighborhood, beyond. So, yeah. Nancy, final thoughts, things you want us to remember, like if anything you want to impart.
Well, certainly the last thing I would say is to make sure your will and your financial and medical power of attorneys so much. But if you're not able to communicate what you want, they do the talking for you. So certainly do that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is a moving document. It's always growing and changing and everything. And even if you don't have the latest information, at least have some information there just to kind of get things started.
With it. And I had the pleasure a couple of months ago of doing some training with our with DES's Mobile Integrated Health Unit, and they were talking about how advanced directives are really complicated for families to understand, and certainly not something you want to try to understand in the moment. Such a better thing to go back to your communication piece of, I know this conversation is going to stink, but let's sit down and have this hard talk, and I know what you want and you know what I want, and we know where the paperwork is, and we can. And
you can take that off the guilt off your loved one of having to figure it out themselves, because they know exactly what your wishes are.
Right, it's very clear. As Brene Brown says, clear is kind.
There you go.
Awesome. Nancy, thank you. Wade, other stuff you want our community to know about either the work that you do in the background to keep us all safe and prepared, or anything you want them to know that they can do to help make your life easier and keep themselves safer?
Well, what I do is part of a team effort with everybody in Department of Emergency Services, and I think this is just a natural extension of it. When a disaster is going to occur, it's going to be the whole community that's involved in some sort of response effort. And so the way I would frame this is, the more you can do to help yourself, then the quicker you will be able to then help someone else, because you've got all your stuff in order. And that's going to help Charles County bounce back and continue to be as resilient as we are.
So that strong individual really does have an impact on a strong community and being able to pay it forward to the next person.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Well, certainly not a fun topic to talk about, not my personal favorite, but an important one. And I certainly have some homework to go home and organize and scan and gather some documents. And I know you both know about me that at home there are a variety of animals. So I've got to figure out how the 2 horses, the goats, the tortoise. I mean, somebody has to get the tortoise, right? Get the documents, get the tortoise, and let's keep ourselves safe. Thank you so much for being here, Nancy Bowling, our Benefits Compliance Administrator, who's doing double roles today from Human Resources and just excellent advocate for our community.
Always. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Wade Haubert, our Emergency Manager, who is going to join us for many more episodes of Ready, Set, Prepare, learning about all the things that our county is doing to prepare for emergencies and also the things our residents can do. Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found this episode valuable. And of course, you can always go back and view our past episode. And there are more episodes coming this year. So stay tuned. Try to keep yourself safe, take care, and stay engaged. Thanks so much, Charles County.
Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast and want to hear more, search Charles County Government on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe. We're also available on YouTube. Search Charles County Commissioners. And stay connected for all county news, information, and programs by visiting www.charlescountymd.gov/stay connected.